Regarded by a lot of people as the most anticipated elections in South Africa's democratic history. Mr. Mamabolo, welcome to Jacaranda FM and News. First question has to be, are we ready?
We significantly ready, yet we have not completed all that needs to happen. The ballot production processes are proceeding well. We should complete that before the Easter break. Our materials is now beginning to leave provincial warehouses to go to municipal sites. Our staff training going well. We hope to complete that before Easter. So it's for political players now to play their game, but to do so within the set rules to ensure that we have a climate which is perfectly okay for an election of this magnitude.
All of what you've just said sounds easy, and it's easier said than done, I'm sure. If we speak volumes, if we start with ballot papers, if you can give us an idea on the volumes of how many people are going to vote this year and the fact that there will be two ballots.
Indeed, there will be two ballots, one for the National Assembly and another for the provincial legislatures. The ballot production process, it's a very intensive process. We've got to print over 60 million ballots within a 14-day period. We need to ensure that the ballots are put into ballot books of 100, which are perforated, and there has to be a cover with the name of the voting station. It has to have a barcode so that should we need to track that ballot, we are able to do that. So it's a very complex project which involves a number of important layers which are necessary for the security of the process.
Speaking of the security of the process, not only on the day of the voting, but we've also seen in the history of the country after voting to transport the ballot papers, to get them counted in a secure location. How is that going to work? How far do you have to transport ballot papers from where voting took place?
Fortunately, our electoral prescripts provide that you need to count the ballots where voting happened. So there is no need to transport ballots for purposes of counting. Counting happens at the voting station where the ballots were cast.
And after voting, how long do you see the process of counting the ballots and verifying the results of the elections and then being able to declare winners?
The counting at the voting station should be done by about midnight, maybe around 1-ish or so, depending on the size of the voting station. Then we'll proceed to capture those results immediately. By Friday afternoon, on the 10th, we should have a clear indicator of who the leading parties are. And if we're able to then resolve any objections that may arise, the Commission should be in a position to declare the results on Saturday, the 11th of May.
Looking at the ballot papers itself, if you can give South Africans an idea how long the list will be of parties that are contesting this year's elections, because if I'm not mistaken, it is the longest list yet.
It is the longest list in the history of electoral democracy in our country. We're having on the national ballot 48 parties. So voters are spoiled for choice.
All on one paper? All
on one paper. The length of the ballot is going to be 610 millimeters.
Goodness. And provincially?
Provincially, the longest provincial ballot we have is going to be Hlaudi with 36 parties.
Because it varies from province?
It varies from province to province. It depends on the number of parties contesting that specific provincial legislature. Do
you want the political jargon to come down a notch, or do you see this as normal democratic growth?
Look, any election must be robust, the campaign must be robust and so on. But throwing chairs at each other is never part of a decent democratic exchange. So we want to once again call on leaders of political parties to show maturity and to show leadership. Because an election is not successful because the logistics are good or the training of official staff is good. Those things are important, but they must be complemented by political maturity, where leaders conduct themselves in a manner fosters, or rather in a manner that is underpinned by the values of our constitution. If if we fail on that front, we'll probably not have a good election. So it is not too late to change tack and do things in a manner that shows great statesmanship on the part of our political leaders. By law, you are bound by the provisions of the code. It binds the leaders of the party, the candidate, as well as the supporters, and indeed every one of us, because no member of the public is allowed to go deface a poster of a political party. And no person should debar, for instance, members of the media from doing their work. So the code is in force. If you are found to transgress it, it's a criminal offense, and your party may be subject to other civil action.
If you can tell us about the logistics behind the election, what does it take to run the biggest election in the country's history?
Yes, we're printing over 60 million ballots. We are employing over 220,000 staff members. There'll be 54,000 stationary packs that we'll have to deliver to voting stations, and over 120,000 ballot boxes that have been procured. So you can see that it's an election. It's a huge logistical undertaking. There'll be 29,000 South Africans who vote at the 121 missions of the Republic across the world. We are now transmitting logistical items to these 121 missions. Voting outside of the country will happen on the 27th of April. And we are happy that processes are working well.
Do you feel this year that everything that was done every year since '94 with elections are under a bigger spotlight, are more scrutinized, more questions about processes being followed in the run-up to the election?
Yes, indeed. There's more scrutiny this time round, but that is to be welcome. It's part of our evolution as an electoral democracy. So we can't bemoan the fact that there are more questions and more scrutiny than has been the case previously. All it means is that our systems must be more tighter. Our adherence to the prescripts of the law should also be more tighter, and that's how nations grow. It's part of our growth as a nation.
And that was Mr. Simon Mabolo, Chief Electoral Officer of the IEC, speaking to us at Election House in Centurion. We appreciate it because it's a hectic time ahead for the IEC. In the meantime, keep pondering who you're going to vote for.
Jacaranda FM.